Hello, welcome to Skill Check, the positive gaming podcast from YMCA Exeter. It's been a while, Becky.
It has been a while.
It's been a bit longer than planned. There's a bit of a COVID thing, and then there's the kind of half term.
Who got COVID?
It might be my turn, you know. I like to do things in my own time.
4 years after everyone else had it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm not the quickest. On these things, and that obviously shows in this instance.
You're Andy, and I'm Becky, if you didn't know that.
It's almost as if we've forgotten how to do this.
We've forgotten how to do this bit.
Right.
So, what have we got coming up, Andy?
It's going to be a bit of a chaotic edition already. We've had chaos already.
We have chaos already.
It might be a bit of a building site at any moment.
We're trying to rush through it before it becomes building.
So, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we're going to be looking at what a gamer looks like from a kind of stat point of view.
Okay.
So we will have our kind of stereotypical idea, but does it actually measure up when you look at the measurements of stats and things like that? Hopefully, we're going to have Game of the Week.
Yeah.
But first things first, we have gaming news. Now, gaming news.
Our first piece of gaming news this week is PlayStation is to axe 900 jobs and close their London studio. Sony has announced it will lay off 8% of its PlayStation employees globally. In addition to cutting jobs in the US and Japan, they said that this would mean closing its London office entirely. In a blog post sharing an email sent to employees, boss Jim Ryan called the move sad news and said it was a difficult day for the company. The cuts come a month after rival Microsoft revealed plans to lay off 1,900 people from its gaming division, which include those that recently acquired Activision Blizzard. The London-based office of PlayStation has been responsible for games such as SingStar and 2000's game This Is Football. There was also some more news last night about other layoffs from a different company. I can't remember which one it was as well. They're all coming now.
Yeah. We call this a positive gaming podcast. Sometimes the news isn't positive. And it's more about kind of taking a look at what is happening in the industry as a whole. Lots of thoughts, lots of different people having different ideas about what's happening in the industry, because it's not just Sony. There's been reports from Xbox, Ubisoft had similar reports as well. One theme seems to be, are video games themselves getting too big? Is there being too much money ploughed into the creation of the video game? Does video games need to get a bit more creative in the stories and the games that they tell? Because some of the budgets, I've forgotten what the budget is for GTA 6.
I don't think I want to know.
But apparently it's like massive compared to like multiple kind of Marvel movies put together. And even kind of this studio behind kind of GTA 6, that they're kind of trying to get people to come back into the office. And some people are looking at it as layoffs by stealth.
Okay.
In that apparently some people are not able to actually do that. So it's a bit of a rotten time.
It was. We did see a massive expansion over COVID as well, and it's kind of contracting from that a bit as well. So
it's like, has that bubble burst a little bit?
It's because we all had time to game over COVID. No, we're all back at work. So we're not gaming so much anymore, and that, it's not bringing in revenue as much as it was before. So it's not good, but we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's still a huge industry. Let's point that out.
It's still huge, still massive.
Our next piece of gaming news is 4 games that were formerly exclusive to Microsoft will soon be available on rival consoles. Hi-Fi Rush and pirate game Sea of Thieves are coming to PlayStation 5 only. Meanwhile, narrative adventure game Pentiment and co-op game Grounded will be on PS5 as well as Nintendo Switch. it was considered a major change in the direction of the industry. 2 of the games were revealed on Wednesday in the Nintendo Direct, an online showcase for the firm. Several other upcoming titles for the Nintendo Switch were also revealed during Nintendo's event, including a new Endless Ocean game, Monster Hunter Stories, and a remake of the 2010 Disney hit Epic Monkey. Mickey. If I was a baby, Epic Monkey. It's because I was thinking Monkey Island, but it's not. It's Epic Mickey.
Mickey. So 2 things.
Yeah.
Let's move on quickly. The Xbox exclusives. I mean, that came off the back of like a week or 2 of all sorts of rumors and clowning around on the internet. And I've gone. I joined in with that as well because
getting in on the hype.
Rumors and gossip are sometimes
What
fun.
were you expecting it to be? Because I feel like there were lots of people expecting it to be like some. Because I think these games are relatively.
That's part of the fun because no one really knew. I mean, the gossip was all sorts of stuff, including no more Xbox.
Wow.
Consoles, Starfield on PlayStation 5.
Okay. I think that's what a lot of people were expecting it to be, like a big game like Starfield. But then they announced the games, and I have no idea whether the games that were mentioned. Have you played any of them?
Played Grounded.
Okay.
I keep meaning to play Sea of Thieves.
Okay.
Just because it looks good and
relatively, are they big games, little games?
They're
middle ground games.
Middle ground. Sea of Thieves is probably the big one.
Okay.
They're not the recent big ones.
Yeah.
So therefore not the same league as Starfield.
Yeah.
But it's probably just Microsoft giving a little bit of time, testing the waters a little bit.
Yeah.
Second point, Epic Mickey.
Epic Mickey.
I'm here for that.
Okay. Where's that?
I bought it when it was on the Wii.
Okay.
It looks pretty on the Switch. Which on the side point, how is the Switch still dishing out games that look
I know.
good?
Well, so there was a Pokemon thing this week because there was Pokemon was like International Pokemon Day or something like that. And one of the announcements was they're making a new Pokemon game.
Yeah.
And there was now speculation that would be one of the early games on the Switch too. So,
well, on all future games, like an early game on Switch 2 at this rate, it's like.
Yeah, but
and that's another rumor.
There's no official announcement on the Switch 2. They were expecting it last year.
We were expecting it last week at one point.
It's not coming. It's never. It hasn't. It still hasn't been announced.
No,
it's still only rumor.
It's
the more this goes on, the more Nintendo are building like speculation around whether. It's a really funny thing as well because the Switch is still the best-selling console.
Yeah, and there's still a huge amount of games coming out.
Yeah. So it's whether they're putting it off because they're still selling a lot. And whether it's ready and they're still because they're putting off because it's still selling and they may as well while they're still selling they may as well keep selling them.
Why not? Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean it's fascinating. Our last piece of gaming news is a study conducted by Norwegian researchers suggested that children feel increasing social pressure to spend money in games. The study revealed that children are worried about being bullied and being unable to make friends unless they spend money to buy cosmetic items. The researchers said that children are influenced by memes and trends they see on platforms like TikTok and also by in-game items which confer status either by having stats or brand power. There's no sharp distinction between their online and offline world. Children spend between £75 and £750 per year, reportedly. Many games this money was spent on. Many things that this money was spent on include loot boxes, season passes, and time-limited items.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question about this as youth worker.
As the resident youth worker, yeah.
Because this feels to me like a tale as old as time.
Oh, yeah. We haven't talked
getting
about
the
it
Disney back.
Yeah.
In that, whilst, there's lots of comments there about TikTok and DLC content and things like that. Actually, all of this really is just getting the fresh new stuff to keep up with your mates.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So what they're now saying, and actually I've heard this reported in other reports that aren't about gaming, is that online and offline worlds are now becoming one world for young people. So whereas we see our online world is like we use Facebook, we don't use it in the same way that we deal with our real friends in real life. For them, it's all one thing.
Yeah.
So their offline and online worlds are the same thing, and it is just an element of dealing. And it was a survey about social media and that kind of stuff, and how tech affects young people. And it's really interesting because this is actually, like, I was sort of thinking about the young people that we have in youth club, and one of them absolutely loves clothing, like really, really loves clothing. He's got all the coolest like jackets. He's constantly telling me how much his clothes cost. But genuinely, from what I can gather, they're now seeing like doing that online as the same as doing it in real life. So it might be that they spend £250 on a pair of trainers that they really like in real life, but they would also then spend £50 on a pair of really cool shoes in Fortnite or something like that.
So how would you deal with that?
So there's no distinction. It's a really interesting one.
Is there?
Because for us there is, for adults, and like for their parents, a lot of them, they would say, why are you spending that money online? That's an online world. It's not your real life. You can't wear it. Like, it's not something that's going to benefit you. But for them, there's no difference between buying a pair of trainers in real life and buying a pair of trainers on the game, on whatever game they're playing. It is completely status driven.
Yeah.
It's to look cool and to look trendy.
But that's exactly the same problem as, back in the old days.
Yeah.
It just happened to be the right hoodie or the right hoodie. The right trainers, the right boots.
I think we make a distinction, like as adults, we make a distinction between, oh, you don't need that because it's not real. Whereas they just don't make that distinction. Like there's no distinction between like them buying a pair of trainers and then buying a pair of trainers digitally.
Yeah.
There's not a distinction in that. And it's how a lot of like marketers play on their desires, because actually they use this stuff to go, actually, if you're wearing this outfit, you're cool, and that makes you cool, and it's the same stage. And then you become uncool if you haven't got the latest trend online, in the same way that you would become uncool if you haven't got the latest pair of trainers in real life.
So part of me wants to keep talking about
it.
But another part of me is very aware we've got a load of other stuff.
We can always come back to this.
It feels like, advice-wise, from talking to resident youth worker, that we kind of split the advice in two, almost.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, was I'm not personally tempted by the kind of DLC bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I can be tempted to like get that game because everyone is talking about that game.
Yeah.
And I want to keep up with everyone.
Yeah.
I guess first piece of advice is you're amazing.
Yeah.
Full stop. And kind of games and DLC and bits and pieces like that doesn't make you more amazing. Second bit of advice is if you are a parent and you've got someone who is asking you for money or trying to spend money on things you don't really get or understand, ask them about it, and maybe mentally treat it as the same conversation as if they wanted to spend more money on a pair of trainers that you would want to spend money on, I guess.
Yeah. And that's the end of gaming news.
Right, so way back in the dawns of time.
In the dawns of time.
Or January, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, give or take.
Give or take a bit.
We had a chat about, kind of what we talked about during kind of this section of the podcast.
Yeah.
And we had this kind of bright idea to talk about what a gamer looks like, at least from what a statistical point of view.
Yeah.
And to try and kind of take the stereotype and actually ask, is that what it is? Is that accurate? Yeah. So I decided to have some fun with this. I hope you don't mind.
Okay.
I went ahead and what I did is I went to ChatGPT.
Okay.
And
as you do.
Through the miracle of technology. Now, for those listening, when I asked ChatGPT to give me an image of a stereotypical gamer,
Mm.
and I'll be honest, that word is probably heavy laden, and ChatGPT probably gave me what I was wanting.
Yeah.
We have an image of, I guess, a youngish looking chap in a dark room surrounded by 5 different screens with soft drinks on the floor. 3-4 controllers on the floor.
Yeah.
Crisp packets, at least 1, 2, maybe 3 computers, so 3 desktops on there. Very spiky hair, got a headset on.
Yeah.
Looks kind of cool.
I mean,
Alright,
if you're watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, get onto YouTube and find this section because you can see then the picture that Andy's trying to
And
describe.
I'll try and put the photos
Um,
over top as well.
I mean, he looks like he's been there for a while. I'm gonna say that.
He's kind of at one, and
Yeah.
it's obviously an AI generated
Yeah.
image. There's some angular issues there
Yeah.
with how he's sat, but that I think, as far as the image goes,
Yeah.
that's probably fairly.
So that's,
Fair?
I mean, I would imagine that's what you kind of think of when you think who actually is a gamer. Like,
Yeah, and that is the question we're trying to answer, I
Yeah.
guess, in the who is actually a gamer. So I'm desperately trying to think of what of the stat I found first. I want to say the age question.
Yeah, the age question. I just pulled up some age statistics if you want to hear.
Please.
So age-wise, which age range do you think is the most likely to play games?
Well, unfortunately,
Do you know the answer?
I know the answer.
Okay.
From a statistic point of view, we're looking at kind of the mid-30s upwards, really.
Yeah, so annoyingly, this age bracket reckons there's about 1.17 billion gamers between the ages of 18 and 34. So that's the biggest majority of people that play. So actually, age range wise, we're looking at adults, young adults to sort of early 30s that are the kind of majority of gamers now.
So young adults to early 30s. So the stat I found was around the 35 age range. I put that into ChatGPT, asking for a 35-year-old male playing video games, and it presented me an older looking chap, tidier desk, again 3 monitors, interesting looking shelves. I like it. There's obviously some figures up there. You could argue there's like either Doctor Who or Star Trek-y type figures up there potentially. There's definitely a headset there.
Yeah.
I went further. And I wondered statistically speaking, what platform that this guy was probably going to be playing on.
Was it the Switch?
Well, depends on
handheld game.
your point of view.
That looks like a mobile phone to me.
Yeah, so mobile was the result I got.
Yeah.
Can't quite remember what the number was, but the chances are, if you're gaming, it's probably more likely to be on a mobile device.
Yeah.
Which you could argue includes the Switch. You could argue includes the Steam Deck. There are some other kind of higher powered handheld devices out there now. I just figured it's quite interesting that he kind of went from darkened room
with a young guy singing in a room
with a guy with slightly greying hair on a mobile phone.
I think it's really interesting. So demographically wise, it is changing as well. So it is like mostly adults. It's not young people as you think it is. Like male females, the ratios are changing as well. So a lot more females are gaming now. In 2021, it was 55% male, 45% female, which is changed from when 2000 it was 62% male, 38% female.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. It's changing the way that we game. And also, I think what we kind of see as gaming, we kind of see as a guy in a dark room, and actually it could just be someone playing a game like Candy Crush on their mobile phone, for example. So I think it's a huge, like, I think we have to expand the way we see a gamer and say, actually, it's not just some guy in a dark room. It could be just, I play a silly game on my mobile phone, and that counts me as a gamer.
Yeah, totally.
And that is, and it is part of gaming strategy as well. Like, we've looked at Microsoft and how their acquisition of Activision Blizzard was a lot related.
Candy Crush, which has
to
recently come to Game Pass, and you can play it on PC and
but it was not related to mobile games.
Yeah.
It wasn't. They wanted the big games, but they also wanted Activision Blizzard's big mobile gaming platform, and that is, like, it is a massive chunk of gaming now is mobile gaming platforms.
And the fact it's already on Game Pass.
Yeah, so
it's gonna come to mobile fairly soon, I reckon.
Yeah, it is. It's totally changing the way that we think about gaming, and it will, we can't just sit there and say, oh, we're targeting young people in their bedrooms, because that's who the gamers are. And, like, actually, kind of the majority of the population are gaming now, I would say.
Totally.
Yeah. And now it's time for Andy's Game of the Week. Andy, what is your game this week?
All right, so I've got to admit, I've spent probably more time than normal just casually binge watching classic Doctor Who.
Because it's been poorly.
Because I've been poorly. Because I've had multiple days when I've just felt wiped out and I just crashed somewhere.
Okay.
But there's one game that's recently come to Microsoft Game Pass, which was hard to ignore.
Okay.
Now, you're not going to like this. You're not going to be a fan of this one. I'm not going to even try and convince you. Dead Island 2.
Okay.
Imagine, like, a first-person zombie fighting game.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. It's got a higher age rating than what we would normally discuss here.
Yeah. We normally try and keep it on the lower end so everyone can play. But
this one's fun, and don't get me wrong, it is a grown-up game.
Yeah.
There's some horror elements because, zombies.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly over the top.
Okay.
Quite a bit of dark comedy.
Okay.
It's not a gritty horror.
Okay.
It's very kind of big monster thing coming at you.
Yeah.
And there's a style to it which I find it very hard to not enjoy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the old kind of Buffy the Vampire Slayer fanboy in me.
Okay. Yeah, you're one of those people.
Zombies.
Yeah.
Story wise, there's a zombie outbreak.
What a surprise!
Bad things happen.
Okay.
You know how this plays out.
Yes.
As I said, it's an 18. It's a grown-up game. There's grown-up language.
Yeah.
Go in there expecting that, and you'll have a great time.
Okay.
And if you have Game Pass, it's worth checking out.
Okay.
Real good fun. I know you're not a fan. If you're interested, you can find it on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox One. Apparently, it's via cloud streaming. If you're on Game Pass, and Xbox Series X and S.
Okay. That is our game of the week.
That's our game of the week.
Yeah, and that is all we've got time for this week. And if you want to follow us, please do find us on our social medias at YMCA Exeter and at YMCA Exeter Games. Please do follow us on YouTube if you want to, and like and subscribe, and find us on all your favourite podcasts places. And we will see you next week.
See ya.